Hey Alan, what are we going to talk about today?
I was going to talk about a question that Omar had, which was his question was whether you could use something like a go-to to skip a bunch of steps, which isn't possible. But what I suggested as a workaround was you put all of the steps that you don't want to do inside a template, and then you can just put one when condition on whether you run that template, so you can bypass everything in it. And what he wanted to do was basically he was wanting to run over a list of things with a with params. So the when condition is sort of how long is that list of things. So yeah, that was the suggestion. He seemed to think it was going to work, but he hasn't got back to me saying whether that works. But um, that was what I was talking about first.
Yeah, sounds good. I have no additional questions.
It's yeah, you could whens are quite powerful, and you can, if you put stuff inside templates, everything inside that template could be wenned at the top level, basically, which is quite neat. You can also with param over 0 items, and that does work if the item if the only step you want to do is if the only thing you want to do in that section is to work on each individual parameter separately, then that's fine. But if you want to do a bunch of setup that you can avoid doing if you're not going to process any data, for example, then you can bypass that all by putting it all in a template. Yeah. I had another topic. Just so this is one for you, Tim, really, because you know the answers more. It's about using podMetadata to set things on the pods that you're running inside your workflow, or even you could set this in workflow defaults. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes, someone was asking about this, but also I was asking about this earlier in the week. So our use case was we have moved to Carpenter from Cluster Autoscaler internally. Um, the theoretical benefit of Carpenter is it's very aggressive about bin packing your pods into very tightly the correct size node. Basically, it will pick from all the nodes and choose one that's exactly the right size for your needs. When you're running a workflow, though, what happens is Carpenter goes a bit nuts and starts packing all the things while your workflow is running and just shoots pods all over the place, um, which makes the workflow not very running. So Carpenter offers a solution of if you put a magic label on your workflow pods, then it will stop Carpenter from evicting that pod and moving it to a different node while it's running. So what I wanted was to basically automatically put that label on all of our workflow pods. And it wasn't immediately obvious how to do that based on the Arca workflows documentation. And as Alan alluded to, the magic words to look up is pod metadata. This allows you to set, as the name suggests, metadata on each of the pods, so labels, annotations, that sort of stuff. So you just put that in your workflow defaults. It then automatically applies to every pod that your workflow runs, and RCI is not broken anymore, which is good. And I think the question in Slack someone had was they wanted to copy the labels from the workflow into each pod. So you'd
Yes.
use that same thing, use the pod metadata in your step to replicate the labels above, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah, it was another one of those things that just is hidden away in there. Just have to look in the right place.
I didn't have any more questions to cover.
I don't think I did either. Just...
Oh, we were going to talk about the on exit problem.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I'm just looking up. It was I don't know a real name. They're Slack handle is getting. I'm assuming it's that rather than some other pronunciation of those letters, who has found a bug basically. If you turn on active deadline seconds in your workflow, it will prevent the workflow from running beyond the number of seconds specified in active deadline seconds, which is useful if your workflow is expected to not take longer than 10 minutes and is still running after 2 hours. You don't want to manually have to terminate it. But a neat thing is that the exit handler should be able to run after it should be invoked when active deadline seconds fires, and it does get invoked. But the bug that has been found is that if the pod that is started by your exit handler doesn't go to running within the within 10 seconds, or actually within default requeue time, which is defaults to 10 seconds, then that pod will get shot because it doesn't think it's part of the exit handler or something. A quick code inspection says the code understands that pods might not be running at this stage, but yeah, it obviously is a real bug. If the pod gets to running, if your exit handler pod gets to running in 10 seconds, then it will survive and run to completion in a normal way. It doesn't get terminated. But if it isn't running and is still in pending, then the active deadline seconds pod murderer comes along and terminates your pod for you, which is unhelpful. So yeah, that's the bug. Hopefully it will get raised as an issue and we can deal with it.
Yeah, I do wonder if that was some of the, we were seeing issues with our exit handlers 6 months ago, and I wonder if in hindsight this was the same issue.
Yeah, because if your exit handler wants to run on needs a new node to spin up, then you're pretty much not going to get there in 10 seconds, or it's a big container to pull in, whatever, any reason. There could be many reasons why your pod doesn't arrive in 10 seconds.
I mean, I'm surprised our exit handlers run at all because our requeue time is 3 seconds. So
yeah, I set it down to 3 seconds locally, and I couldn't get, even with an Alpine image that I already had pulled, wasn't starting in 3 seconds before the whole thing got terminated. So
no, I guess this only happens in the event of a workflow exceeding its time limit, I suppose. So yeah, it's quite rare for us actually. We got quite generous TTLs on our workflows. Nice. No, I don't think we had anything else, even though we said that before.
No, I definitely don't.
Okay, in which case I think we'll leave it there. Have a good week, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
See ya.